Our next speaker also has a story covered in love, love that she shares with her husband, Kenyatta Sprinkle. Keyon was wrongfully convicted of a Boston murder and spent 20 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. Let's give a warm New England welcome to Kenyatta Moon Sprinkle.
Good evening, everyone. So, I'm 26 years old, and I was working at the Boys and Girls Club as an administrative assistant, and in walked someone delivering these beautiful yellow roses. And the little note attached said that they were from my boyfriend, Keyon. And I was happy and I was excited because it was our anniversary. And at the time, I went to school at night to become a cosmetologist. And that night, after class, I come out and again, I'm, greeted with more flowers. And this time they were red roses. And I'm like, I wonder who these are from. And again, they were from Keyon. So after a long day, I go home, I'm meeting up with my cousin Tia, and I get there and she walks up to me with more flowers, right? And this time these were white, they were white roses. And she also gave me a letter and she's like, oh, these are from Keyon. I'm like, yeah, right. and I go upstairs, and I start reading this letter, and I kid you not, like this letter sends me all through the house. Like it's giving me clues, like I'm on a scavenger hunt. And ultimately leads to my daughter's room, her bedroom. And under the blanket on her bed, there was a box. And now by this time, Keyon, he's on the phone and he's like, open it. And I did, and it was a ring, and I was speechless at this point. And he told me that this ring was a promise to get married, and that he would take care of me. We would be a team, and that I would no longer have to work so hard or struggle. And I'm like, this is music to my ears, right? But there was one thing. He was in prison. Now, just to give you a little history, Keyon and I are childhood friends. Our families lived in the same housing development, and when we met, I was 13 and he was 10. And I promise I'm not making this up, right? He always called me his wife, and I thought it was cute, but in my head, I'm like, okay, little boy. But we stayed connected throughout the years, and we became parents as teens, and then, boom, he got arrested for a crime that he didn't commit and was sentenced to life in prison, and, shortly after sent to Walpole. And I was shocked. I was sad. I was like, yeah, there's no way that he did this, right? And in fact, that's what the word on the street was. So I began writing him and visiting him in Walpole, and shortly after, our feelings grew. Now, aside from his obviously good looks, right? Keyon, I love that he is extremely intelligent. He is loyal. Family is important to him, as it is to me. And I like that he was concerned about my well-being and super supportive, even though he was there and I was here. So shortly after that promise that I told you about, we got married in Walpole. And we started setting immediate goals. His was obviously working on his case, and mine was finishing school. And then we moved to 3 to 5 year goals. At the time, he had learned about stocks and investments, and he began to teach me because generational wealth was something that we both wanted for our families. And we also talked about having all these properties and having a business, and it felt so good to have someone to share my interests with, right? And even though he was there, like, he was heavily involved in the household and would do whatever he could to help. For example, if I needed a babysitter, he was calling around and trying to help me find a babysitter. And this was long before free jail calls, right? And he would help the kids with their homework. And when I was studying for my real estate license, like, he would quiz me over the phone. Like, we were a team. And, everything, with his absence wasn't always good. I mean, at times I felt like he thought that I was, like, not being honest about where I was or what I was doing. And, this was mostly when I would miss his calls, right? And I can't call him back. So I'm like, you just gotta trust me, And then it was the fact that, he didn't understand time and the way the world moved out here. And some days I was super overwhelmed with things I had going on, like work or the kids' activities. And, I would visit him 2 to 3 times a week, and some weeks I just didn't because I couldn't. I was tired, and there was also stressful times, like due to money or bills or other expenses, like the kids needing something or my car breaks down, and it just would have been so helpful to have an extra income in the household. And then, aside from all of that, I was lonely. And I just wished that he could be here so that we could just spend time together. And so that I could do something other than working or being a mom, And so that he wouldn't be missing out on things like graduations and, dance recitals and celebrations. But at some point, I had to tell myself, like, you know what? This is what it is, and this is what it's going to be if he is in prison forever. And what did I do? I worked. I kept working and just trying to keep the faith and dreaming and hoping and praying for his freedom. And in 2020, thanks to the New England Innocence Project and a team of great lawyers, he was released and shortly after exonerated. Yes. And since then, Keyon and I continue to set and achieve goals. That's still a thing. And I like to say that we are crushing it. We're really crushing it. We have 4 children. We have a newborn granddaughter. We have properties and investment portfolios. But the best thing for me is just spending time together and having that void filled. Like, it's truly amazing, We no longer have to have visits in prison anymore. you know? Instead, now together we can visit countries worldwide. In fact, that's how he has gotten his name, the world traveler. You know? We are truly living the dream. Thank you.